Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape.
And JT from Ebike Escape.
And in this video, we're checking out a brand new cargo electric bike. This is the Aventon Abound. So let's get into it. Before we get into the walk around, if you are looking to purchase any Aventon electric bike, be sure to check out the links in the description. If you click that link before you make your purchase, it helps support Ebike Escape and makes videos like this one possible. Thank you so much for your support. We'll also have some other resources down in the description as well. Our electric bike accessories list, top e-bike brands page, and of course our electric bike discounts code page where we track all the deals on the electric bike brands that we follow. With that, let's check out this brand new electric bike. If you've been following Ebike Escape for any amount of time, you know I love cargo electric bikes, and I'm so excited that Aventon, such a big name in the e-bike space, has decided to launch a cargo electric bike. The Aventon Abound is priced at $22.99, which means it fits well in with a lot of other cargo electric bikes. In fact, there's a few things that are included on this electric bike that are not included. We'll be sure to call that out in the walk around. And if you aren't familiar, we'll get into all the specs of the bike. Then we'll get into some first-person riding footage and test the motor out. And finally, we'll have some third-person riding footage where I'll give you my concluding thoughts on this electric bike. The Abound comes in 2 different colors. And if you aren't familiar with the brand, they're also sold at bike shops. So if you don't want to order one directly, you can see if you happen to live near an Aventon dealership. And we've reviewed all of their electric bikes, so if you're interested in other models in the lineup, be sure to check those videos out. With that, let's get into the specs of the brand new Aventon Abound
cargo electric bike. So starting up here at the front, we have something we love to see, which is Tektro hydraulic disc brakes mounted to a 180 millimeter front rotor. If you notice, this is also a through axle, which is always nice to see. It just adds a little bit of extra rigidity to the fork. Speaking of fork, this is an SR Sun Tour, 50 millimeters of travel hydraulic front fork, complete with preload. I know it's gonna be a little tough to see with this included front rack plate, and it does have a lockout on the other side as well. And Ryan and I are in agreement. Out of all the cargo electric bikes on the market, there are very few that have a suspension front fork and hydraulic disc brakes. So the fact that we're seeing both of those on the same cargo electric bike is really awesome. Coming back in here to the front, we have metal fenders and 20 by 2.4 inch Innova tires, complete with reflective sidewall. Always nice to see that little nod to safety.
Of course, these tires are set up for street riding, even though you do have the suspension fork.
And then above the metal fender here, we have the headlight that's hiding in here. This is the Aventon light that we've seen on a lot of bikes. It's typically mounted up here on the handlebars. This is a more narrow beam light. It does provide some light, but if you are gonna be riding at night or just want that little bit extra added safety, a handlebar mounted light is gonna be a nice addition to this bike. And then right above the light, we have this rack plate. It is really cool to see that it's got spots around here for, say, bungee cords or something like that. And it has the same 4-bolt mounts as some of the other Aventon models. And then moving up to the cockpit, we have a folding stem. Gives you a little bit of extra clearance up here if you wanted to, say, slide it into the back of a vehicle for transportation.
Moving on to the cable management, one thing that Aventon does really well is they have this cable wrap, and it goes all the way to the frame and keeps the cables looking nice and clean. Just an extra touch that the company takes. Let's jump into the cockpit. Some similarities to the other Aventon bikes, but also some differences. One is these grips. These are locking Aventon grips, but they also offer a palm rest here, which makes them a little bit more comfortable. We already talked about the brakes, but we have Tektro levers, hydraulic disc brakes. These feel really nice. They also have motor cutoffs, so that's going to cut power to the motor as soon as you hit the brakes. As we see on all of the Aventon bikes, we have a left-hand thumb throttle. Jumping to the right side, we have the Shimano Revo Shift twist shifter. This is a 7-speed. To change gears, you simply twist down to go in a lower gear and twist up to go into a higher gear.
Normally at this point is where we would call out that if you wanted to get a more comfortable or locking grip, you could get something like the Ergon. But Ryan and I found that these lock-on ergonomic grips are really comfortable and probably don't need to be upgraded for most people that are going to be riding this e-bike.
Another thing we'll just point out here is the width of the handlebars. Now, a lot of times on some folding electric bikes, now of course this isn't a folding electric bike, but the handlebars do fold, but Aventon made sure that they still have some wide handlebars. Of course, that's important for stability. And for adjustability, you can raise those handlebars. You just want to be aware of the minimum insertion point, but this is going to be accommodating for taller riders or shorter riders if you want to lower them down. So there's been some recent updates to the controls on the left side here. It started with the Adventure 2, which we recently did a review on. Now the button pad has a power button in the center, pedal assist up and down, but the left and right button are actually for turn signals. We'll show those off when we get to the rear of the bike. But this is the same Aventon display that we've seen on all of their electric bikes at this point. Sometimes in really bright sunlight, it can be a little difficult to see, but it gives you all of the information that you need. Now, this is one of the first Abounds that have come off the assembly line, so some of the settings here on the display might change, but we'll show them off. Battery percentage in the top right-hand corner, current speed, front and center. We have odometer in the bottom right-hand corner with estimated range, total time, calories burnt, average speed, max speed, some CO2 reduced, some trees saved, and back to odometer and range. Pedal assist levels in the bottom left-hand corner, off, eco, tour, sport, and turbo. Now there are some advanced settings you can get into by holding the pedal assist up and down button at the same time. Now you won't need to make many changes in here. You do want to make sure the screen brightness, or at least I do, is turned all the way up to 5. And one of the unique things about the Aventon bikes is they also have a mobile application, so you can pair this bike with your phone, and they also have some gamification, some social aspects.
Moving down from the cockpit here, we have very minimal Aventon branding. We have the Abound logo up here on the down tube, and then Aventon down here on the side of the battery. We're gonna pull this battery out for you guys closer towards the end of the walk around. And then up here, also located on the down tube, we have 2 bottle cage bosses. You can either mount a water bottle there or possibly even a folding lock. One thing to note is that you do have a little bit of a step over height here, but if you add something here to these bottle cage bosses, you are gonna lose some of that accessibility up here in the front. So just something to keep in mind if you do add something there.
One thing I want to call out is the Aventon welds. I feel like a broken record. We've talked about it a lot when we review these electric bikes. You can see that there are smooth welds all around this electric bike. It just gives the bike a little bit more of a premium look. When you're looking at other electric bikes, Aventon just takes extra care when it comes to their frames. And of course, they also own their own factory.
While we're down here, we'll call out the metal pedals that come on the Abound. These are pretty standard pedals that we see on a lot of bikes. They have reflectors on them. There's a lot of other options out there on the market. Be sure to check out our e-bike accessories list if you're looking for some recommendations. While down here near the pedals, it'd be hard not to call out this really nice integrated cargo box that comes included on all Abounds. There's really not gonna be anything else that's gonna fit in this area. And like we said, this is included with all Abounds. It's got a little mesh pocket here on the front and 2 zippers. We are gonna be sure to try out, see how many burritos we can fit into this thing later today.
As with most cargo electric bikes, we have a dual kickstand, keeps the bike more stable. JT is going to demonstrate how that works. Simply rock the bike forward and rock it backwards, nice and easy.
I will have to say too, out of all the cargo electric bikes I think Ryan and I have ridden, this is one of the easiest kickstands, and it really hugs the frame a lot tighter than some other ones. So really props to Aventon for designing that kickstand. It's really nice, and it's really easy to get the bike on and off of it.
Now the Aventon Abound has a nice step-through frame design, but one of the unique things is they have a dropper seat post, and there's a lever underneath the seat, and that allows you to raise and lower the seat. And what's really nice, if you're riding this bike and you come to a stoplight, you can lower the seat. It might be easier to plant your feet on the ground, but also getting on the bike, you can lower the seat and then it's easier for you to sit back, and then you can just pull that lever up to raise the seat. JT is going to demonstrate how that might look.
There you go. You get on, and then just lift yourself a little up on the pedals, push the lever and go right up. So you get full leg extension, and then when you're getting off or want flat feet to stop, you simply just push it and then you can stand. And then while we're up here talking about the saddle, this is a Sella Royale saddle that comes equipped with the nice grab handle. Really nice if you had to say pick up the rear of the bike to move it around, or really just hold on to the bike.
Moving on to the rear of the bike, you can see the Tektro hydraulic disc brake just peeking out of these protectors here. Of course, these are extremely important if you have a child in the rear, keeps them from getting any clothing or their feet stuck in these spokes. And Aventon has decided to include these running boards, which is really nice. Of course, if you're buying this electric bike, you're probably looking at having a passenger on the rear. And of course, they're going to need somewhere to place their feet. Moving on to the rear of the Abound, we have this light. So up top you have a light and it does operate as a brake light, and then you have a reflector below, but then you also have turn signals on the left and right, and those are controlled up at the cockpit using the left and right buttons as we showed you earlier. And if you turn the lights on and then hit the brakes, the light does go brighter. And if you see any flashing, that's due to the GoPro. The lights don't flash when they're simply on. Towards the rear, we have the Aventon metal fender. It really gives you full coverage in the rear. Now, a lot of the gearing is hidden by the foot platform as well as the rear guards, but Aventon includes a Shimano Tourney rear derailleur. Again, this is a 7-speed. The Shimano Tourney is on the entry-level side of Shimano components, but it does come on many electric bikes, and we find that it gets the job done for most people. In the rear, we have 14 to 28 teeth, and up front, we have a massive 52-tooth front chainring. Be sure to stay tuned for our first-person riding footage, and we'll talk a little bit more about how the gearing feels. And one thing I also love is they include this really nice chain guard. There's just no way that your pants are going to get caught in the chain. Just something that we don't see on every cargo electric bike. There's also a chain guide wheel that, of course, helps prevent any chain slap, especially on a cargo electric bike where the chain is a little bit longer. Now, it's going to be difficult to see the motor back here, but this is a 750 watt nominal, 1130 watt peak motor. Again, stay tuned for the first person riding footage and we'll put that motor to the test. Another unique thing about the Abound is Aventon has been changing a lot of their models to have torque sensors, and that is the same for the Abound. Now, the main difference, of course, is a cadence sensor simply senses whether you're pedaling or not, and a torque sensor is going to monitor human power. So if you pedal harder, that motor is going to work harder for you. This is a look at the bag on the other side. No zippers here because it would be difficult to access, but you can just see how nice it hugs the frame.
And no cargo electric bike review would be complete without a look at the kid carrying area. So this upper section with these bars and these padded seats are not an included extra in the Abound, but this lower cargo rack is included.
One thing I also wanted to point out is Aventon tried to keep this cargo bike a little bit shorter. You can see that the seat, when raised in a higher position, does come into the kid area in the rear here. JT is removing the optional seat pad. And Aventon is going to sell seats. That's, of course, a really nice safety aspect, especially if you're riding with younger children.
And then here's a look at that Velcro padded seat that goes on here. It simply Velcros around the bars. If you've got a kid or somebody that's a little bit bigger and doesn't require their own independent seat, this is going to be a good option for them.
And one unique thing that we haven't seen other manufacturers do is include a backrest, which gives the kids more comfort, and perhaps you can go on a little bit longer of an e-bike ride.
And then, as we told you before, we're going to show you how the battery comes out here. So this is a pretty similar integration as we see in the battery on the Aventons. You have a key that goes in the side here. Simply give it a twist to the right, and the battery pops out and pulls out. It's a very nice integrated battery. Has a power button up here on the top and has the charging port down here at the bottom. This battery can be charged on or off the bike, and Aventon includes a 3 amp hour charger, which is a little bit more than what we see with most standard e-bikes.
One thing I will say, putting it in and removing it from the side is easier compared to the bikes that have it underneath the down tube. And an extra step that Aventon is taking is they're painting the battery case to match the frame. Again, it just looks a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, and to put it back in, like Ryan said, you don't have to worry about any wheel interference. You simply slide in the bottom and push it in.
With that, let's get into some first-person riding footage and see what the Aventon Abound can do. Let's get into the first-person riding footage on the Aventon Abound. I have the GPS app. This is the speedometer app by Cool Nicks. Always like to compare that to the display. One thing I've noticed on this bike is, while it is a heavy cargo e-bike, as most of them are, The motor actually has a lot of pull out of the line, and turbo mode, as you'll see, is actually quite fun on this electric bike. All right, let's do throttle only. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, throttle only. 1, 3, 5. GPS speed is catching up. 14, and the Aventon display showed 20 a little bit ago. And there we go, the GPS is catching up. I wanted to call out on the controls here. If you have the pedal assist turned off, you do not have access to the throttle. I like that for a safety feature because if you accidentally hit the throttle, you don't have to worry about the bike taking off. And some people do ask, can you pedal an electric bike with no power? And of course the answer is yes, though it's going to be a significant workout. And of course with the bike that weighs as much as this bike does, it's going to be even more work. But I find 6, 7, 8 miles per hour is doable. So you're just not going to go very fast, and hills are going to be a significant challenge. Before I start going through the various pedal assist levels, I want to talk about cadence versus torque. Now, given the Abound has a torque sensor, that makes it unique in the affordable cargo e-bike category. Most of the bikes have cadence sensors. Now, one isn't better than the other. Some people prefer cadence, some people prefer torque. I find that a lot of the traditional cyclists, people who have been on bikes for years, prefer the torque sensors because it's a more natural feeling. And what I mean by that is as you put in more human effort, the motor kicks on incrementally and gives you more power. So it's like riding a non-electric bike. It's just you're going a little bit faster, but still providing plenty of human effort. The way I like to explain cadence sensors is it's kind of like an on or off switch. And of course, how much that cadence sensor kicks on is going to depend on the pedal assist level. As I go through the various pedal assist levels, I'll pedal at a more leisurely cadence, and then I'll really put in a little bit more human power and we'll see what the speed is. But just keep in mind that it's going to differ depending on how much effort you're putting in. So we'll start off here in eco mode, and I am on a slight uphill, and I'm going to shift down into first gear. Now, even going up this slight incline, I would probably shift up here into second or maybe even third gear. I prefer a little bit of a slower cadence. And we're going 8, 9, 10 miles an hour. And of course, if I put in a little bit more effort, I feel the motor kicking on and my cadence increases. We're going about 12 miles an hour. And I could even shift up maybe even to fourth gear. And I'm already at 13 miles per hour, again, up this slight incline. I'm going to turn around here and actually head back down the hill in tour mode. Again, leisurely cadence, fifth gear, 11 miles per hour, 12 miles per hour. And again, if I put in more human effort, we're going 14, 16. It's a little bit flatter here, more accurate representation of what you can expect. So in tour mode, around 14, maybe 15 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and go into sport mode. Shift up into sixth gear. At a leisurely cadence, it's holding us at that 14 mile per hour mark. And I really feel the motor kick on there when I put in more human power. It just feels zippy, is the only way I can describe it for a cargo electric bike, hitting 18 miles per hour. And it doesn't take much, in my opinion, to get this motor to really kick on. Let's go ahead and go into turbo mode. And I would definitely kick up to seventh gear. And we're going 18 miles per hour, very easy. Again, I'm at a very easy cadence. Suffice to say that this motor that peaks at just under 1200 watts is plenty capable. Now, if I put in a little bit more effort, and even not much, I'm already at 20 miles per hour. I think that's one thing that has impressed me about this cargo electric bike. And of course, if you're buying a cargo electric bike, you're probably hauling cargo, and you're going to appreciate the power of this motor. So that's how this bike does on flat ground, but we're gonna find a hill here in San Diego and we'll see what this motor can do. All right, let's get into the hill climb test on the Aventon Abound. Now, given I am not on my home turf, we don't have our hill climb test. This is the largest hill that we could find close. And I did hit 20 miles per hour, even though we're going up a slight hill. We'll see if I can hit this green light. There we go. And we'll see what this bike can do. Now, this is a very powerful motor. You can check out some of the other reviews that we've done with our hill. And we're still at 20 going up this hill. Keep in mind, I am a lighter weight rider at around 145 or so pounds. And the bike is not loaded with cargo. But no surprise that this bike is handling the hill. 17 miles per hour, 16, 15. And that was a pretty sizable hill. And of course, the bike is going to do even better if you're pedaling. All right, with that, let's get into some third-person riding footage, and I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Aventon Abound. I have to say, it's exciting to see all of these new cargo e-bike offerings, as it's my secret goal of the channel to get more people riding e-bikes and less people in cars. And cargo e-bikes are really the best option out there to make this happen. The Aventon Abound rounds out the Aventon lineup. They have a style of e-bike that covers almost every use case: fat tire, folding, lightweight, commuter, cruiser, and now cargo. The Abound at $21.99 isn't the most affordable cargo e-bike out there, but it's also not trying to be. For one, at least in my opinion, this is one of, if not the best looking cargo e-bike on the market. So if showing up in style with groceries or children in tow is your jam, this might be your next cargo e-bike. The battery disappears into the frame, but then you also have the clean welds and the frame bag and wheel guards, giving the bike a cleaner look. Even the rear triangle, if we can call it that, is simply designed. And all of these details are helped by the fact that Aventon owns their own factory in China. But clearly, elegance isn't the only thing that matters. The Abound has great specs and some surprises as well. The 750 watt motor is plenty powerful and should get you and your cargo up any hill you encounter. The battery at 15 amp hours is just slightly above average, but with a throttle only range of 22 miles and up to 50 miles on pedal assist level 1, this should be plenty for a vast majority of riders. This longer range estimate is made possible by the efficiency gains of a torque sensor, and we shouldn't gloss over the fact that this e-bike is engaged with a torque sensor for a smooth riding experience. This is certainly my preference and is something we haven't seen before in a hub drive cargo e-bike, so good move, Aventon. Another highlight is, of course, the front suspension. Not only do we see rigid front forks most often, but this front fork is even a name brand SR Suntour front suspension fork. I think the dropper seat post is a nice inclusion, and it just makes adjusting the seat height that much easier, which is nice, especially on a cargo e-bike, which sometimes can get tippy if heavily loaded. Touches like this matter to ensure riders feel comfortable so they actually ride the bike. We also have high quality Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, metal fenders, and integrated lights front and rear, with blinkers even. The handlebars fold down for transport down the middle of, say, a minivan. This cargo e-bike is so close to perfect, but I would have liked to see a slightly nicer derailleur. The accessories, which are an important part of any cargo e-bike, are well thought out. Here are the plethora of ways you can outfit the Abound to meet your needs. With all these new cargo e-bikes entering the market, it's harder to stand out, but Aventon managed to do just that with the Abound. It's certainly a bit more premium priced, but it also comes with some things that other cargo e-bikes lack. If you do decide that the Aventon Abound is your next e-bike, we'd really appreciate it if you take a second and use our link down in the description prior to purchase. It's the best, and might I add, a free way to support the channel. Or if you prefer, we won't hold it against you if you head to your nearest Aventon dealer. Just maybe subscribe and give this video a like. All right, with that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.